I found this poem this morning, after kind of revisiting another poem I've read before called, starting with Except to Heaven She Is Not. Except to Heaven She Is Not by Emily Dickinson. And then I really enjoy the blogspot poetry analysis site called The Prowling Bee, uh, which has quite a good, well-rounded description always of poems and commentary that speak to me, where sometimes there are analyses on various sites that go really into depth and a kind of are more long-winded, and this one seems to be more social in terms of getting to the point and having people respond to it in a kind of familiar uh, um, familiar way that is relatable. Um, so yeah, this poem would be, well, them two in conjunction kind of speak to two things. This one is called "Glowing as Her Bonnet," and then it was in the commentary of the other, "Except for Heaven She Is Not," and they kind of go together in the sense that they both speak to the at once invisibility of one interpretation of women, and in particular in this case Victorian women who, like women in many areas of the world even today, and definitely in the past in the West and East, uh, there is this kind of wallflower like invisibility where, yes, in the worser of circumstances, they're regarded um, as possessions and um, as chattel and as as uh, as and being owned by owned in a patriarchal hierarchical society, uh, with little compassion for um, um, I would guess treating the kinder qualities as weakness in this kind of society, which is not, which is still pervasive in various parts of the world, and even the undercurrents of the so-called developed West, I think. So so at once it is a kind of speaking to this anonymity, the silence, or this kind of invisibility, or constraint and controlling of women in particular, who, if you actually look at it, who in the poetry, the good qualities and the bright qualities are highlighted, suggesting that, in spite of the so-called um, kind of bars against existence, there is a kind of life that cannot be suppressed, and this is the light that women still carry today, and the emergent movement towards equality. And women bring so many qualities to the world that are taken for granted. And I read last night, hopefully this is not going to be a long description, but I read that in Iceland there is this one day where all the women, or 90% of them, actually 90% of them, refuse to do any housework and refuse to go to work. And this actually spiraled. It was so significant and it created so much duress that it spiraled movements towards equality that you will see in in Iceland today, and many of the northern countries, like I think like Sweden, Switzerland, Iceland, Norway, they seem to have some social system, that some kind of social system. Uh, I don't want to say enlightenment, but a kind of more forgiving and more equal society that recognizes not only old soul values like compassion and forgiveness and mercy, but also recognizes um, the Western rat race for what it is, um, and also recognizes women's value and the devaluation of the feminine, and seems to offer a kind of progressive footing towards that, and leading and also being peacekeeping countries and rather more peaceful than not. And so in the Michael teachings, you will see these countries as kind of embodying old soul values. Um, so that's one point, and then the other point is of course death, and this kind of not giving into the notion of fear and regarding death, but in understanding the spiraling of time and the death and rebirth kind of imagery and um, symbolism and themes that are reverberated across nature and across time space, that energy cannot be destroyed or created, and death is not an ending, perhaps an ending of one sort, but like getting off one chair and going on to another is a kind of change in state, or you could say dimensions in the kind of quantum sense, but is not an end, even though our five senses may tell us so, and physical existence may tell us so if we were to take it as the only existence possible, this world being the only world possible, which when you think of the vastness of the universe, and even in your own dream time, would you question that this is all there is, which gives a kind of hope and light to the darkness that seems so real when you are embodied in flesh and blood. So, um, so which one to do first? Glowing is her bonnet.